The most powerful man in the world dismisses his private card. He's distraught, paranoid, and angry. But most of all, 26 years old Gaius Kaiser Augustus Germanicus wants to be alone. Hours earlier, his sister Drusilla died from high fever. The emperor, known as Caligula, believes she was murdered. He also thinks his father, mother, and two brothers were victims of homicide. Nearly all the members of Caligula's family have met a violent death. His father, a military officer, was poisoned in Syria by enemy forces. His mother was imprisoned by the previous emperor, Tiberius, on charges of sexual perversion. She starved to death in detention. But Tiberius was not finished. He then executed Caligula's two brothers for treason, fearing they would avenge their mother. The tyrant spared Caligula because he was just a toddler. He did not execute the boy's two sisters as they were considered non-threatening. Caligula's relationship to his now dead 21-year-old sister caused him problems. Whispers throughout the Rome alleges an incestuous relationship. The emperor knows about the gossip, but has never denied the rumors. However, his two younger sisters are now in jeopardy because the unpredictable emperor trusts no one. The third emperor of Rome is a handsome man, slim, with blue eyes and curly brown hair. But he is undisciplined and prone to violence. The Roman Senate knows this, but nevertheless confers him the right and power to decide all affairs. This happens because Caligula is the most feared man in the world. Roman politicians know they can be executed at any time. If that happens, their entire families will be murdered as well. The paranoid Caligula does not require proof of any crime. He cooperates on emotional whim. His reign is truly one of terror and constant violence. This evening, Caligula is dressed in a white silk robe, sandals, and a diamond necklace. He sits in front of a massive 6 feet fireplace, perspiring profusely. The temperature is above 90 degrees, but the fire is needed to ward off infection-carrying mosquitoes, which may have been responsible for Drusilla's death. The emperor's compound is known as Horti Lamiani, or Lamiani Gardens, and sits on an outcrop of rock called Esquiline Hill, near the center of Rome. Built by Tiberius Caesar 10 years earlier, the vast compound contains religious shrines, lavish bath and bedrooms, and a newly installed execution space which will be used very shortly. As the room warms to well over 100 degrees, Caligula finishes his supper of nuts mixed with honey and milk, said to be the preferred meal of the god Apollo. A few weeks ago, Caligula named himself the one true living god, who will live to be 100 years. The pronouncement stunned the average Roman citizen whose lifespan is just 45 years. Caligula is restless. That is not a good sign. His praetorian guard is close by, but does not dare to intrude. He wanders his lavish quarters and winds up in a small temple, where he continues brooding. No one knows what the emperor will do next. He's capable of anything. Under Caligula, the city of Rome is home to 1 million people. 80% of them live in abject poverty. They are crammed into 14 distinct neighborhoods, connected by 15,000 miles of concrete roads. The richest families often members of the military, live near the emperor in expensive villas, often in Esquiline and Palatine Hills. The poor citizens huddle in tenement apartments constructed with hay, water, mud, and wood. The roofs are lined with straw to deflect the scorching summer sun. Wintertime temperatures frequently plummet to freezing. To survive, the poor burn animal dung in small furnaces. The smoke is toxic, leading to citywide cases of asthma. The poorest neighborhood is named Sabura. Ironically, it is the childhood home of Julius Caesar, whose mother was a prominent slumlord. The district is 2 square miles of makeshift shacks, dilapidated apartments, open sewage, and rented meat markets. Thousands of Caracases line in the street, deers, geese, rabbits, ducks, and pigs. The scent of the animals' entrails permeates the humid air. To hide the odor, Romans burned small bundles of herbs and cinnamon. The residents of Sabura form a backbone of Rome's working class. They toil 14 hours each day as bakers, butchers, blacksmiths, and innkeepers. Those who cannot work are often forced into prostitution or sold into bondage. Slavery is an integral part of Roman society. Human shadow is used in agriculture, private homes, businesses, the army, even the government bureaucracies. Some slaves are forced to wear a 3-inch metal plate hanging from their neck. The lockets are inscribed with their name, owner, address, and place of birth. The enslaved include people born into servitude, prisoner of war, infants, abandoned at birth, and criminals forced to repay their debt. The most common slaves are captured Germanic barbarians and North Africans. 25% of the Rome's population is enslaved. Keeping order in the slums of the Eternal City is not easy. Augustus Caesar formed a combination of police and firefighting force called Vigiles Urbani, means the watchmen of the city. These government employees are not well paid, but have a tremendous amount of power over the poor. They can impose punishment on the spot. Whippings, beatings, even taking a life is normal. Few poor criminals receive a court hearing. Augustus financed the thousands of Vigiles Urbani by imposing a 4% tax on the sale of slaves. That brought in enough money to keep order and suppress rebellion, at least for a time. The city of Rome spans 16 square miles and is protected by fortified walls. Alongside the roads are narrow gutters used to divert human waste and garbage to Tiber River, which cuts the city in half. The central district is composed of government buildings, army barracks, and marble temples to the gods. 25 years earlier, Augustus levied massive taxes on the poor to construct most of the buildings. But now, under Caligula, the empire's coffers are nearly empty. Nevertheless, the paranoid emperor orders the creation of massive shrines to himself. The biggest is 35 feet tall. Supporting this vast metropolis is a system of aqueducts and canals that bring fresh water from nearby reservoirs to the farms that surrounds the city. A few wealthy Romans also have water piped into their estates. For the poor, water is taken directly from the polluted Tiber River. Disease is rampant. Plagues of malaria, smallpox, and tuberculosis run riot over the population. Public hospitals are reserved for military and noble families. The impoverished turn to healers and to the gods. Roman temples are stacked with bodies of dead and the dying. The situation spreads disease further. Of Rome's 14 neighborhoods, Caligula places 3 under strict quarantine. It is death if you violate his order. For 600 years, Rome has been a thriving metropolis. Under Caligula, the city has dramatically declined. It is on the brink of destruction. Folklore states the eternal city of Rome was created by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, sons of human mother and Mars, the god of war. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar takes control of the empire. He calls himself dictator, perpetuo, and rules over 5 years before he is assassinated by Roman senators. The title then passes to Caesar's adoptive son Augustus, who presides over a vast expansion of the empire for 4 decades. His reign is called Pax Romana, means Roman peace. Unlike Julius Caesar, Augustus, who ruled at the time of Jesus, dies peacefully in his sleep at the age of 75. His adoptive son Tiberius, already in his 50s, then ascends to power. Caligula is born in the year AD 12 under Tiberius. He is distant cousin of Emperor, but Caligula's family is deemed to be a threat. Thus, the young teenager is exiled to the island of Capri and held hostage. Tiberius' reign spans 23 years. In the early spring of AD 37, he is discovered dead in his lavish 12-foot bed at his vacation home in Capri at the age of 77. As he has no medical condition, Romans believe he was secretly assassinated. The cause of death is listed as asphyxiation. The demise of childless Tiberius throws the capital into chaos, with no successor named, bearing noble way for control. For the next 10 days, Caligula, now a young adult, skillfully maneuvers into the power vacuum. As the most prominent male descendant of Augustus, the ambitious young man is finally selected to rule. On March 29, AD 37, Caligula is crowned emperor. Most Romans are unfamiliar with the 25-year-old, and he's initially adored by the public. He immediately announces popular reforms, including new construction projects for theaters, temples, and roads, which provide jobs. In memory of his murdered mother, he pardons political prisoners and those in exile. To memorialize his slain brothers, he abolishes the death penalty for treason and blasphemy. Perhaps the most popular move of all, Caligula reduces or eliminates taxes on the poor. The first few months of his reign are dubbed the Golden Age of Rome. Then, without warning, everything changes. It is 6 months later. Caligula is dying, or so it seems. He lies on a white bed in his private residence. It is October 5, AD 37. Dozens of healers surround the ailing emperor. To reduce his fever, he is placed in a bath of frigid water. Pine bark and herbs are added to the liquid immersion. The emperor screams in pain as he is lured into the concoction. Within seconds, he is unconscious. The healers are desperate. If the young ruler dies, they will be blamed and likely executed. So they feed him a steady diet of egg, yolks, garlic, fennel, and boiled liver. Leeches are placed on his body to remove excess blood, but the fear remains. The bizarre episode lasts about 3 months. Roman citizens are completely unaware of Caligula's precarious condition. Then, suddenly, he regains strength, but he is a changed man. Caligula has gone mad. The ruler believes his near-death experience was caused by poison. Immediately, he executes everyone who had access to his food, including his 2 closest advisors, personal guards, and physicians. Under penalty of gross torture, he instructs his father-in-law to commit suicide by slashing his own throat with a shaving razor. The emperor also accuses his 2 sisters of treason, but rather than kill them, an act he believes will be frowned upon by the gods, Caligula exiles his siblings to a pair of remote island in Mediterranean Sea. He tells the Senate they have been dispatched for the crimes against Rome, as well as sexual relationships with the animals. Continuing his madness, Caligula declares war against the Roman elite. Some senators suspected of treason are forced to run naked alongside his imperial chariot. He rapes their wives to sow uncertainty among possible male heirs. The Roman Senate collectively shudders. Hundreds are executed. Before some of the murders, the tyrant personally oversees the torture of the victims. At the killing chamber, in his place, prisoners are sawed in half at the waist. The emperor dines while watching them die. He described this screams as a great appetizer. Along with the depravity come financial ruin and sacrilege. The emperor orders the desecration of religious temples. Statues of Apollo, Jupiter, and Mars are replaced with marble replicas of him. Vast government funds are diverted for Caligula's personal whims. As the Roman Senate descends into chaos, the young tyrant demands the construction of 3-mile-long bridge across the Bay of Bali. The structure is only to be used by emperor's horses and livestock. As descent grows throughout Rome, a Praetorian Guard continues to protect the out-of-control emperor. No one can get near Caligula without their permission. The Praetorian Guard was created in 27 BC by Augustus Caesar. During his assassination, similar to which eliminated his predecessors, Julius Caesar, August instated a personal security unit selected from elite soldiers and family members to protect himself. The next emperor, Tiberius, expanded the force threefold. Caligula's guards consist of 4,000 soldiers scattered across the city of Rome. However, just 30 men protect him at the place. They're often abused by the tyrant, both physically and sexually. One of these men is named Cassius Chaerea. Born in AD 14 in Lower Germany, young Cassius was orphaned and forced into military service by the Romans. Though barely above a slave in social standing, he is loyal to the empire. The 52 years old Cassius is tall and strong, bearded, with dark brown hair. But he speaks infrequently. Cassius is ashamed of his feminine voice, for which Caligula berates him constantly. In fact, The emperor calls his bodyguard Venus, Roman slang for male who has been castrated. Eventually, the humiliation turns Cassius against Caligula. The explosive situation will soon play out. The Roman army is now spread throughout the known world. It consists of 250,000 soldiers, divided into 300 regiments. It is the most feared fighting machine on earth. Roman legions brutally put down insurrections, enslave entire populations, and loot treasuries, sending the bounty back to the emperor. At this point in history, the Roman army has never been defeated in a major battle. Caligula now begins to abuse his military forces. In an insane move, he appoints his favorite stallion, Incitatus, as a special counsel. The animal is actually given a luxurious home, and 18 servants who feed him from an ivory mangler inside a marble. The army grows restless. In AD 39, Caligula decides to lead his forces in the field. He and his Praetorian Guard travel with approximately 10,000 soldiers north to the British Channel. Julius Caesar conquered Gaul, present-day France, so the Romans' advance is unimpeded. But it is a long journey, taking the legions 2 months to travel 2,000 miles. Once there, Caligula orders his vast army to attack the sea. Soldiers hurl spears, swords, and pikes into the waves. Anyone questioning the order is executed. 8 hours later, Caligula declares victory over Neptune, god of the sea. He then instructs the army to collect seashells as trophies of war. Thousands of pounds of seashells are transported back to Rome. The empire's military commanders know that Caligula has indeed lost his mind. They question what can be done about it. It is late summer AD 40. The emperor of Rome has 6 months to live. Caligula quietly lounges in his private box at the amphitheater of Statilius Taurus, waiting for the spectacle to begin. The pre-noon temperature exceeds 90 degrees. He waves to crowd wearing his summer uniform of silk robe, leather sandals, and a crown made of gold leaf. Since he was a small boy, Caligula has enjoyed watching the traditional Roman games: wrestling, throwing weapons, lifting weights, but recently his tastes have turned bizarre. It is Caligula's 28th birthday. He will not live to see another. On this day, the emperor was convened his favorite spectacle. Damnatio ad bestias means condemnation to the beasts. Roman law permits the murder of non-citizens, prisoners of war, and slaves. Caligula expands the practice to include his political opponents. Today, 5 alleged dissidents are scheduled to die. Their executioners will be 5 lions brought to Rome from North Africa. To induce maximum carnage, the beasts have not been fed for 3 days. The spectacle unfolds. Caligula dines on grapes and almonds while each prisoner is dragged into the arena. The amphitheater seats 15,000 spectators. Its relatively small size irritates the unhappy emperor, who vows to construct a massive Colosseum in the heart of Rome. The men who are about to die have supposedly engaged in a plot to depose the paranoid dictator. Caligula has chosen this gruesome method of execution to send a message to the public. The killing floor is 200 feet long, 100 feet wide. Giant walls and iron gates prevent any escape. The sand and gravel are stained with the blood of previous victims. Caligula nods in the direction of the cards. Immediately, gates on the floor of the arena slide open. The lions cautiously emerge. The doomed prisoners are armed with short swords. They only serve to prolong the murderous display. The starving cats, each weighing 500 pounds or more, move on their prey. The emperor prefers lions because of their unique dietary habits. Tigers and panthers kill before consuming flesh. Lions prefer devouring their prey while it is still alive. The bloody affair takes 25 minutes. Still, Caligula is not satisfied. In a shocking move, he summons the arena guards into his private suite to order them to select individual spectators and drag them to the killing floor. The crowd is stunned, but some believe they are witnessing an elaborate prank by the emperor. They are wrong. The bloodthirsty cats encircle the panicked spectators. Caligula laughs as they cry for mercy before they are devoured. Some in the crowd cheer for carnage, fearing they soon will meet the same fate if they don't. Personal turbulence also consumes the emperor. By AD 40. Caligula has had 4 wives. His first, Claudilla, dies during childbirth. He divorces his second wife, Livia, after just 3 days of marriage because she refuses to take part in his debaucherous sexual parties. His third spouse, Paulina, was previously married to a prominent senator. Desiring the family's fortune, Caligula forces Paulina to divorce the senator, then abandons her 1 year later after looting her treasury. His fourth and final marriage is to Melania Caesania. The two have 1 daughter, named after Caligula's deceased sister, Drusilla. The emperor is obsessed with his wife and child. For good luck, he carries with him vials of their sweat and blood. He also remains preoccupied with his 2 sisters, but for a far different reason. Even though they have been exiled, he believes they are involved in a scheme called the Plot of 3 Daggers. The emperor has been told that his siblings and a man named Marcus Aemilius Lepidus are planning his death by stabbing. Thus, the 3 daggers. Quickly, he executes Lepidus, throwing his body into Roman sewers. The man's possessions, property, and slaves are sold. Caligula then uses the proceeds to construct a personal brothel. He doesn't execute his sisters, but keeps them imprisoned. It is October AD 40. Caligula lounges on a private throne inside a vast greenhouse. The open-air building is furnished with palms, fruit-bearing trees, and silk blankets. The structure was previously used to grow cherries and olives. Now it is a shrine to the emperor's carnal appetites. The cool autumn air is warmed by ornate fire pits called fauci. The orange glow casts an ominous light on the evening's festivities. Hundreds of men fill the vast space. Hours earlier, Caligula dispatched dozens of servants to the numerous brothels of Rome. In the capital, prostitution is legal and usually consensual. The transaction typically occurs above small taverns or inside private apartments. The men of Rome have heard the rumors of Caligula's degenerate affairs. They are anxious to see them. As the crowd gathers in what is called the pleasure gardens, banquets of food and wine are placed on the floor. Soon dozens of naked women, men, girls, and boys are led into the room. Many have been given opium mixed with the wine to dull their senses. Writes a historian Suetonius, Caligula opened a brothel in his palace, setting apart a number of rooms and furnishing them to suit the grandeur of the place, where matrons and freeborn youths should stand exposed. Then he sent his pages about the fora and basilicas to invite young men and old to enjoy themselves. The sex slaves themselves reside in a section of the palace reserved for livestock. They are well fed. Being overly thin is a symbol of illness and poverty. They are also flea-bitten and diseased. The slaves are beaten, abused, and often exchanged with corrupt senators for wine, pearls, and other luxury goods. Tonight, the party's theme is a feast for the gods. Guests impersonate their favorite deities, Jupiter, Diana, Mars, and Mercury. Caligula is wearing the robes of a woman and a blonde wig. His outfit, inspired by Venus, mirrors his obsession with beauty. To prepare for the role, Caligula has practiced making feminine faces in a mirror. The sordid scene unfolds for hours. Men, including the palace guards, disappear into private rooms. By dawn, Caligula is satisfied. He orders the grounds cleared. Slaves who are visibly injured during the debauchery are taken to a private hospital. Notably absent from the party is Caligula's chief protector, Cassius Chaerea. 2 miles east, Cassius is eating breakfast alongside a group of Roman senators. The men are drinking a blend of vinegar and fruit juice called Pascha. It is said the beverage brings good fortune and physical protection. Soon they will need it. Cassius and the conspiring senators believe the empire has endured enough. Caligula must die. 75 million people worldwide live under the authority of Caligula. His empire spans 2.3 million square miles on 3 continents. Authority is administered through brute force, but order is breaking down. There is open revolt in the Western Europe, the Eastern provinces, and North Africa. A new religion based on the teachings of a crucified Nazarene named Jesus is growing. The treasury is empty. Caligula's soldiers struggle to maintain control. The emperor turns to mercenary armies to augment his fighting force. They are loyal to nothing but money. As chaos consumes the empire, Caligula is completely uninterested. His only concern is consolidating power, inflicting violence, and quenching his sexual appetites. Meanwhile, famine begins to grip the capital. Pandemics of plague, malaria, and smallpox decimate entire neighborhoods. Life expectancy falls 20% in just 3 years. Numerous assassinations. Plots have failed to kill Caligula. In response, 30% of the Senate has been murdered, even though most are not guilty of any offense. In the winter of AD 40, the tyrant makes his most shocking pronouncement yet. The capital of the empire is to be moved from Rome to Alexandria. From North Africa, Caligula can rule unopposed. Once there, he will change his title to the divine monarch, the Roman pharaoh. The announcement is too much. whispers spread throughout Rome. Families that have accumulated power over centuries convene in secret. There's one obstacle: the Praetorian Guard. Soon, Roman consul Publius Pomponius Secundus receives word that a member of Caligula's personal security team is displeased with the emperor. He summons Cassius Chaerea to a clandestine meeting. It is early morning in late December 8040. Cassius is surrounded by Rome's most powerful men. He normally wears the formal uniform of the Praetorian Guard, a white toga surrounded by leather armor, and a hat plumed with rooster feathers. Today, he is donning civilian clothes to avoid unnecessary attention. The senators know Cassius despises the man he is supposed to protect, yet they are cautious. Many suspect this may be an elaborated ruse devised by Caligula himself to smoke out potential traitors. The men huddle inside a small chamber in the Curia Julia, or the Senate House. The elaborate building was constructed by Julius Caesar in 44 BC. The entrance features a massive marble arch, flanked by large ornate pillars. Inside the branch doors, a long hallway leads to both the Senate floor and the smaller rooms designed for negotiations. Cassius is approached by the powerful politicians. Despite years of tyranny, the subject of actually killing an emperor has been considered off limits because it is a capital offense. The assassination of Julius Caesar 8 decades earlier threw Rome into the civil war. After years of strife, Caesar's great-nephew Augustus was crowned emperor. The senators fear another assassination will reignite a civil war. Now the conspirators are scattered across several wooden benches. The room is filled with 15 rectangular seats, each facing the center of the chamber. A nervous Cassius stands and is told of Caligula's plan to relocate the capital to Africa. Silence hangs over the room. Finally, Cassius says the words the senators have been waiting for. He knows how Caligula can be killed. It is a time for celebration. The emperor and his family plan to attend the competition called the Palatine Games. In honor to the military victories in the past, the makeshift wooden theater is to be erected near the imperial palace. The hillside road from Caligula's residence to the event is narrow, dark, and more importantly, used exclusively by the royal family. For a few brief minutes, Caligula will be cut off from the rest of the Rome, surrounded only by Cassius and his guards. The plan is complete. Once dead, Caligula's body will be secretly brought to the Curia Julia, the same room where the men now stand to eliminate his bloodline. The emperor's wife and infant must also be killed. Cassius is the first to leave, then the senators follow. Everyone knows that if plot fails, they will be viciously tortured and killed in the ways that defy description. At the same time, Agrippina, Caligula's exiled sister, sits on the floor of a small shack overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. She wears an uncomfortable frock made of goat hair to shield her from the cold January winds. For the last 18 months, her older brother has held her on this rocky island called Panza, guarded by Roman soldiers. She does not know the location of her sister Livilla. A man knocks on the door. He is delivering Agrippina's daily ration of food, local fish, typically octopus or sardines, bread, fruit, and wine. She's also given some goat milk, a beverage consumed only by the lower classes. It is part of her punishment. Despite her current conditions, the 26 years old is attractive, slender, and tall like her brother. She has light brown hair that is tied behind her head. Since the age of 13, Agrippina has been married to a prominent Roman leader named Gnaeus Domitius. Because of his noble family, Gnaeus has escaped exile. He remains in the capital, raising the couple's 3-year-old son Lucius. The boy will soon be known throughout the world as Nero. Apart from her beauty, Agrippina is ruthless and ambitious. Since being dispatched to the island, she has been plotting her escape. If that proves impossible, the other option is suicide. The guard know the emperor's sister is dangerous. At any moment, Caligula could order her release, making her one of the most powerful people in the empire. They don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Agrippina accepts her rations. Today, the young guard is carrying more than food. He also gives her a set of bizarre instructions. The commander of Praetorian Guard has been told to increase Agrippina's rations. He has also ordered the improvement of her living quarters. She is given new clothes, blankets, and basin for bathing. Agrippina's instincts tell her something has happened to her brother. His death could mean her return to Rome and a potential role in the imperial palace. However, if a rival family assumes the throne, she will be killed. The young woman has no choice but to wait. She cannot know that within a few months, she will be one of the most powerful people in the world. 20 miles away, Livilla stares at the log fire, swatting mosquitoes that have infested her dilapidated quarters. Her imprisonment on the island of Pandetria has been debilitating. Caligula's youngest sibling is 23 years old, short, and plain looking. Her hair is flat and matted against her forehead. Unlike her older brother and sister, Livilla is not ambitious. Before her exile, she had received numerous honors from Caligula himself. She was even offered the rights of the Vestal Virgins, a title that allows her to watch public games from the upper seats of stadium. Livilla was once favored by Caligula. Her image was printed on coins that circulated from Western Europe to the Middle East. But that changed without warning. After his mental breakdown, Caligula prostituted his younger sister to the Roman guards. He ordered young soldiers to rape her as a rite of passage. Those who refused were killed. Livilla receives weekly rations from the mainland. The food is often spoiled. Unlike Agrippina, she has accepted her fate. Livilla believes she will soon starve to death, the same fate as her mother. Her only option is the assassination of her brother. She knows many in the empire want him dead. His brief reign has been less than 4 years, but that could be more than long enough for the Senate, which is rumored to despise Caligula. The exiled sister finishes her dinner of salted fish and dirty water from the nearby well, likely the source of disease. She then retires to her makeshift bedroom. The tiny stall was once inhabited by Augustus' horses. Now it is her private manager. The open-air structure has a small roof, but no walls. Outside, the winter moon shines down on the Mediterranean. Wind from the warm sea mixes with night air, casting a dense fog that covers the Pontine Islands. 60 miles north, the plot against Caligula is in motion. The emperor has less than 1 hour to live. It is noon on January 24, AD 41. The tyrant is watching the Palatine Games, but his mind is elsewhere. He is scheduled to depart for Alexandria the next day. There he will rightfully assume his place among the pantheon of Roman deities, rivaled only by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt. He will no longer be confined by the Senate, Rome's elite families, his sisters, even the army. He may even wage war on Rome and purge his enemies once and for all. The Palatine Exposition had begun 2 centuries earlier. Since then, Romans gather each year on the city's 2 tallest hills to make sacrifices to the gods. Animals are slaughtered, their blood offered to Jupiter and Mars for a bountiful spring. After the ritual, games are played for the crowd's enjoyment. Now, Caligula reclines as athletes, actors, and other performers pass his private suite. It is colder than usual. Winter storms have sent the temperature in Rome to near freezing. For warmth, the emperor has replaced his traditional white silk robes with a dark woolen cloak scarf and knee-high socks. He is cold, anxious, and most of all, impatient. He looks at his surrounding with disdain. Cassius Chaerea has not slept. If Caligula survives the day, he is a dead man. Hours earlier, Cassius departed his private chamber in the imperial palace for Palatine Hill. He has personally selected each member of his killing unit. Not all were aware of the plot, but he knows they will not stand in his way. 1 mile east, the Senate conspirators gather inside the Curia. The building is deserted. Most politicians have departed for the games. If all goes to plan, the Praetorian Guard will soon arrive, carrying with them the dead body of the emperor. Some of the senators carry razors concealed in their togas. If cornered, they are prepared to die with honor. Suicide by opening the veins in their necks or wrists. The final performance of the day is a popular play called Laureolus. It is a story of a gang of bandits who were caught and crucified. Caligula loves the performance of its sheer brutality, but he has seen enough. The emperor rises to his feet in the middle of the play, as do the 5,000 spectators who are gathered. The emperor's procession leaves the theater. It should take less than 15 minutes for the group to reach the imperial palace. Once there, Caligula will pick his belongings along with his wife and daughter. Egypt awaits. Suddenly, a change of plans. Cassius turns toward Caligula. An unruly crowd has assembled on the main road, he says. For the emperor's safety, he must return to his palace using the cryptoporticus, an underground corridor that runs underneath Palatine Hill. The tyrant makes no objection and leaves his entourage. A small flurry of snow begins to fall. The assassins believe this is a sign from Ultio, the god of vengeance. Each man carries a torch as they enter the dark space. The group slowly moves through the tunnel. The only sound is the echo of their wet sandals as they impact the stone ground. Their breath is visible due to cold. Suddenly, Cassius turns toward Caligula and screams, Arcage, Accipe ratum, repete, which means, take that, so be it, and again. 15 feet back, a Praetorian guard screams, Jupiter, a code word that means it's time to murder Caligula. Cassius thrusts his sword at the emperor, striking him in the neck, face, and torso. The bodyguard's rage is unleashed as he viciously stabs Caligula. Blood streams down the emperor's bare chest and onto his sandals. Caligula turns to run, but is stopped by the other guards. They drive blades into the emperor's groin. He falls to the floor, screaming in agony. The group surrounds the most powerful man on earth, stabbing him 30 times. The emperor's jawbone is hacked from his face, his genitals severed from his body. The savage assault lasts less than 2 minutes. It is Cassius who ends the emperor's life. As the tyrant lies dying on the stone floor, his once favorite guard and personal protector drives his imperial sword through the emperor's throat. After 1400 days of terror, Caligula is dead. 1 hour later, the Empress Melonia and her daughter, Drusilla, lounge near a massive fire pit in the heart of Imperial Palace. It is the same spot where Caligula sat following the death of his beloved sister 2 years earlier. Melonia is 35 years old and as ruthless as her husband, beautiful, blonde, and fond of fine jewelry. She often strolls through the royal garden wearing nothing but diamond earrings to tease the imperial guard. Her daughter Drusilla is just 14 months old. Without warning, the doors to the private residence burst open. The man who enters is a familiar face. His name is Lupus, a Praetorian captain. Melonia knows something has happened. She fears an attempt has been made on her husband's life. Naively, the Empress believes Lupus is there for her safety. The guard unsheathes his dagger, slowly walks towards Melonia, and drives the dagger through her heart. She dies instantly. Her body is thrown into the massive fire pit. Baby Drusilla also meets a violent end. Lupus picks her up by her feet, smashing her head against the wall. She too is tossed into the flames. The senators gather inside the Curia Julia. 2 lead consuls, Saturninus and Secundus, argue for the restoration of a republic. Others want an even stronger dictatorship. The debate is suddenly cut short. Members of the Praetorian Guard march into the meeting hall. Unlike Cassius and other conspirators, these soldiers remain loyal to the emperor. After the murder of Caligula's wife and daughter, the loyalists were alerted by Caligula's uncle, Claudius, about the atrocity. The soldiers immediately arrest dozens of senators. 6 take their own lives. 4 of the traitors are beheaded in front of the others. In a final request, Cassius asks to be given an honorable death using his personal sword. His wish is granted. The assassin is taken to a small field near the imperial palace, ordered to kneel, and stabbed through the heart. To avoid further bloodsheds, Claudius, the informer, is quickly crowned emperor. The 50-year-old is simple, plain-spoken, and boring. He walks with a limp and is partially deaf. His mild manner spared his life during the chaotic rule of Caligula. He has never been seen as a threat. Most importantly, he is a peaceful man, prone to negotiations over violence. Claudius lifts the exile of Agrippina and Livilla. At this point, Agrippina's husband has died. So, seeking power, she marries Claudius, who adopts her son Lucius, changing his name to Nero. 13 years later, Nero will become the emperor of Rome, continuing the path of the Eternal City's steep decline. The end comes in AD 476. It has been 4 centuries since the assassination of Caligula and the reign of Nero. The empire is finished. The Roman people descend into an era called panem et circenses, bread and circuses. What was once a proud population now seeks barbaric entertainment and free government handouts. The Roman army deteriorates. Invaders from the north begin to cause massive destruction on the Italian peninsula. Rome begins to disintegrate. Vast sections lie in ruin. The overall population is reduced from 1 million under Caligula to less than 50,000. Rome's once mighty army of 400,000 troops is now unable to defend the Eternal City. Incredibly, an 11-year-old boy named Romulus Augustulus takes over the leadership of Rome. The child is soft-spoken, with curly brown hair and a prominent nose, and is very thin. 10 months earlier, his father, a powerful Roman politician, maneuvered his boy into the imperial palace. Now outside the gates, a German barbarian named Aroeser is demanding surrender. He was born in South Austria and was once a mercenary leader in the employ of Rome. The 43 years old leads a savage band of tribes that seek power. The Visigoths, Franks, Arulis, and Huns. Aroeser's goal is revenge and money. 2 days earlier, the barbarian destroyed the last remnant of Roman army in the city of Ravenna, 60 miles north of the capital. 15,000 legionaries were slaughtered in less than 6 hours, their bodies thrown into Adriatic Sea. Those killed included the brother, sister, uncle, aunt, and cousins of the boy emperor. Now Aroeser stands outside the ancient walls of Rome with 25,000 men. Romulus Augustulus gives up without a fight. The frightened child allowed the barbarian and his forces into the city. The Roman Empire is ended. For 5 centuries, Rome ruled the world. Now a new era will dominate Europe. Its legacy will be one of constant war, disease, poverty, and misery. The dark ages have arrived. They will last 800 years.